Welcome to the Oshkosh Area School District's regular meeting for Wednesday, June 3rd, 2015. Has this meeting been properly notified, Mrs. Council?
Yes, it has.
Can you call the roll, please?
Tito?
Here.
Eliason? Evans?
Here.
Turner?
Here.
Herzog?
Here.
Lumberger?
Here.
Olmsted? Here. We have quorum.
Tonight, we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance from Jefferson Elementary School, Elijah Thrun and Nisi Schrader.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys want to hang the camera, or if you want to leave, enjoy a nice day outside.
Thank you.
Board administrative reports, superintendent's report.
Yes, it's only been a week since our last report, so we're thank goodness we have a thinner stack for a 1 week presentation. First of all, students and staff spent the afternoon at Growing Oshkosh helping to plant, water, and clean up compost at hands-on learning opportunities. Skills learned that were used to design, build, and plant their own garden beds, and students will tend over the summer and using the gardens harvested at home. We would hope that the tending will continue, because at this time of the year, gardens are always enthusiastic, but when the weeds grow in July, it doesn't always show. So we will hope that will happen. Congratulations to to Eleanor Leifgren, a chemistry student at Oshkosh North High School, received the second place in the new category involving contest-inspired the art of statewide crystal growing competition. Over 25 schools and 500 students participated in the competition. Great job, Allie, and her teacher this afternoon when I was at North took me into the chemistry lab and showed me part of the product of her work, and she was so excited about having a student who participated in this this activity. Smith first graders are excited about a pilot of a new summer reading program. Students were able to pick up 6 books that will be sent to them over the course of the summer in an effort to keep them reading during the summer months. What a great opportunity to keep reading skills sharp over the summer. Carl Traeger Elementary families and staff participated in their second annual run with the Wolves on May 28th. Over 300 people enjoyed a dance, party, picnic, and a 2-mile run and walk. Merrill Elementary families gathered on May 14th for their family night, for this final family night for this school year, an event sponsored by the Family Academic Literacy Project grant. Everyone enjoyed Fazl's spaghetti dinner and slideshow of the 14-15 highlights. The remainder of the evening was spent sharing writing pieces, and then enjoying custard donated by Culver's. Thanks to all who have made it such a successful event. Planting trees at Oakwood Elementary School, and we're going to learn more about that this evening, but over 500 trees were planted throughout the Sheldon Nature Center area by Oakwood 4th and 5th grade students, along with parent volunteers and the Sheldon Nature Center Committee, who will be our guest this evening. Oakwood Elementary students raised $5,110 in the annual jump rope for Heart on May 14th. After jumping rope, students enjoyed Freezy Pops, Silly String, the staff, and giving the principal Schultz a pie in the face, which was a reward for exceeding their school goals. Reed Elementary school students, specialist integrated literacy and math Common Core standards in a unique way. Students use their adding skills during Cardo Kick in FIAD, researched an artist, and used their writing skills in art class, and sang and danced using math standards by counting to 100 in music class. So quite an integration of skills. Now we have, last time we mentioned the CARE Day activities, but we have some outstanding creative individual who put together, giving, for those of you who are not able to visit CARE Day at West High School, a district-wide event a couple weeks ago, a wonderful video that will give us the whole picture of CARE Day. And I think Kim is able to run and start it. Go to full screen.
The upper right hand. No, come down. Come down a little. And then go into the picture. Yep, there it is. Yep.
Here we go.
raise me up to more than I can be.
And that concludes the superintendent's report for this evening.
Are there any other reports from committee chairs? John?
Hi. Excuse me. The Energy Committee met on Monday, June 1st at 10 a.m. in the Maintenance Building. Attendees were Jim Evans, Sue Schnorr, Jim Fox, Dave Ho, Al Venig, Stan Mack, Glenn Bolt, Samara Hamzi, Scott Hansen, Bill Plyman, and me. There was no one that attended the public forum, but we did go over a number of things. First, the website Energy Link that Jim gave a report on. We're updating our photos and narratives that provide the status of the energy efficiency products. So we are working on getting that link switched from the superintendent's page to the maintenance page, so people kind of more expect to find it there. So we're working on that. That's not quite done yet, but that should happen. The Inside Look link is also something that we want to get on there, at least for relevant episodes. I know it covers lots of different things. We also got a report on facilities updates. So what's going on? McKinstry has begun several projects in boiler rooms at Smith, Shapiro, and here at Central Admin. From what we've been told, the old boilers have been removed and the new boilers are in warehouses waiting to be installed. There'll be some tuck pointing done at Roosevelt this summer. Mechanical upgrades there and at North are scheduled for next year. We were also told, as we heard last time we met here, that the Lakeside project is going well and is on track to be completed by the beginning of the school year, which I think we all breathe a sigh of relief for.
We're holding our breath.
We're holding our breath, right. Energy usage reports. Our energy usage is looking pretty good. Even though we had one, I think, for March, even though that month was 22% warmer than the March previous year, our heating use showed a 44% improvement, so we're doing really well on that. We're talking about how to celebrate all of that, and also to figure out a way to recognize the energy efficiency of our buildings, which is really going up like crazy. So there is out there this federal Energy Star program, but of course, and we've talked about that here before, it's just too costly for us. So we're looking at some way of doing a homegrown recognition program, and Rick Lieb was there from the Communities program at North, and he thought this would be a really good project for the community students to take on. So, yeah, so he took a lot of notes, and we'll wait to see what he comes up with on that one. But I think I'm sure they'll come up with something very good. Let's see. That was about it, I think. Leaving out a lot of little details, but that's the gist of it. Future agenda items include more project status updates, and also an update on the Webster Stanley Auditorium we requested, because that's a very exciting project for us. The next meeting will be in September, on September 14th at 10 a.m., and it was suggested that we meet at Lakeside so we can actually experience the wonderful new addition there. We adjourned at 10:58 a.m., and I just want to thank Teresa Collins for taking these wonderful minutes. So that's the report for that.
Are there any other reports from committees? Hearing none, looks like we move into our first workshop, the Sheldon Nature Center and Sheldon Nature Center deed restriction. Susan Schnorr, John Walsh from the Sheldon Nature Center Advisory Committee.
We also have Mike Glitch with us here as well.
Thank you.
You had a board workshop back in March on the Sheldon Nature Center deed restriction, and basically, for our new board members, is that the Sheldons donated this property to the school district, and the Sheldon Nature Advisory Group would like some way to preserve that land and make sure the district doesn't, in the future, use it for building a new school or selling it for the commercial value. And so the group has been exploring putting it in a land trust, and that continues to be a goal, but in the meantime, a deed restriction is at least a short-term gap of closing the district's option of being able to get rid of that property, or at least makes it more difficult for the district to get rid of that property. As part of doing a deed restriction, you needed a public comment section on the school board agenda. So as long as we needed a public comment on the school board agenda, we thought it would be a great opportunity to invite the Sheldon Nature area folks here to just give you a little update on where they're at.
Well, thank you. My name is John Walsh. I've been involved with the Sheldon Nature Area since 1991, and I am the president of the Sheldon Nature Area and have been since there was a committee to organize, fundraise, plan, and conduct activities, which resulted in the Sheldon Nature Area becoming the outdoor classroom for the Oakwood Elementary Charter School, Environmental Education Charter School. Like Sue said, this is one step along the way of a journey, and by doing a deed restriction, we set ourselves on a path where the community, the school district, partners, committee members, volunteers can see that we're in this for the long term. The committee members, many of which have spent countless hours building and protecting, maintaining the Sheldon Nature Area, and actually continuing to plant and nourish. You saw pictures of the tree planting that took place in May. Just last night, there was a project that took place with several committee members where the Oshkosh Shoreline Restoration Project with the Parks Committee for the City of Oshkosh donated some cup plants, which is a prairie plant that is very important in attracting wildlife, birds and hummingbirds in particular, because the leaves form a cup that hold water long after it has rained, and the wildlife will come, and it's their little place to get a drink of water. One of the reasons why they were donated is because the seed mix that they had purchased when they did the shoreline restoration contained these cup plants. It wasn't supposed to. And when you have a shoreline along a lake, and these plants, if you know what they are, they can grow to 6 to 10 feet tall. And when you live near or around a lake, people like looking at it. And when you have these cup plants that came with the seed mix, they've rescued them. That's actually what it's called, is a rescue. And they donated these plants, and we planted about 70 of those plants last night. We currently have them at Sheldon, but it was an opportunity to get a number of plants that you don't typically find at a nursery. They're native plants, and they're very beautiful. Actually, one of the signs that we have 29 signs for a self-guided nature walk that anybody can go and look and read the signage that's out there, which is very beautiful, by the way. Cup plants is one of the featured plants that we have out there already. So what we did was we enhanced something that we already had. And it happened at no cost except the time for the volunteers to do that. So, again, when we look at why why do you step forward and say we're going to do something that we haven't done before? Okay? When you look at getting volunteers and keeping volunteers to work for an organization, they want to feel like their efforts going forward are going to be valued for the long run. When you have Eagle Scout projects Eagle Scouts doing projects that they themselves would like to bring their own kids back to see at some time in the future, they want to know that this place is going to be there and that they can actually do that with their own children. When you have people like the Keller Foundation, J.J. Keller, the Bach Foundation, who has been a recent large donor, and actually Mike did submit a grant for this year, a sizable amount of money. The volunteers, the organizations that donate, our partners in the community, in the school district, everybody wants to know that the efforts, whether it's time, money, gift in kind, whatever it is, that if they're going to contribute, that what they're contributing to is valued and it's going to be around for a long time. Without those things, you don't have any money, you don't have any gift in kind, and you don't have any volunteers, and you're certainly not going to hold committee members. So it's for these reasons that we start this journey and ask that you make a commitment to the deed restriction. And as we move forward and gain support toward the land trust, which is, as Sue indicated, is our eventual goal, which will, without question, protect the property for perpetuity. Now, granted, this is a fabulous resource for the Oshkosh Area School District, and particularly for for the Oakwood Elementary Environmental Charter School. No question about it. But it doesn't take too long, whether it's winter, spring, summer, or fall, the footprints in the snow, whether they're people, snowshoes, or animals. This is a place where a lot of things live and a lot of people go to enjoy it. And what we would like to do is start that journey and end the journey with the land trust, where it would be protected even in the event of a sale or exchange of the property, so that the original intent of which the property was donated by Ann Sheldon and family was to create an environmental education charter, a classroom, an outdoor classroom. It's gone far further than Ann had ever envisioned, but she is very excited and very happy with the direction that it is taken. So if in event that it was sold, the original intent would be maintained, and people who would buy the property, if that was done by the school district, the change or the use of the property would remain open to the public the same as it is today. Partnerships that we continuously nourish and groom partnerships, and that's one of the reasons why we've been successful. For the new board members, we were told many years ago that you've got a great idea, but we don't have any money. So if you're going to do this, you're going to have to do it by yourselves, and you're going to have to raise your own money. And what we have done, with the help of the University of Oshkosh, the town of Algoma, the Oshkosh Area School District, and many community partners, has raised and funded projects which have allowed us to have about a mile of trail that you're not going to get your feet wet unless you go out onto the floating classroom when the water is high in the spring. But it's a wonderful place. We have bathrooms out there that actually can function year-round because of some vandalism that took place. We now have the bathrooms open by request. The school, Oakwood School, the maintenance staff, as well as the teachers have keys to the bathrooms that they can open it up, and committee members have that. So we've had weddings, we've had Boy Scout and Girl Scout groups, we've had Audubon Society, we've had a tremendous amount of interest. There have been too many weddings to count out there where they go for pictures, because it's a beautiful place. Prom, and I think every photographer in the city of Oshkosh, and actually in the Fox Valley, use it to take family photos and pictures for senior class pictures. So it's a great place. It's become much more than an educational or an academic resource. It's a real resource for the community, and we'd like to preserve it. We'd like to thank you for your participation and encouragement. Coach Levine, every either August or September, brings out his coaching staff and the young men that become our football team. We've had the freshmen out, we've had the junior varsity, we've had the varsity, and when you look at a group of guys that can get a lot of work done, it is very much appreciated that not only do we have Coach Levine and the coaching staff support, but that we have your support in continuing that project. That we have now had them out 7 consecutive summers, and they do a tremendous amount of work for us. The one thing that we have coming up is tomorrow night we're going to be building a float, and we're going to be in the Town of Algoma Parade for the Sheldon Nature Area. And this is something that we've done every year now for...
Third year.
Third year, okay. So, you're represented in more ways than you know, and we really appreciate and thank you for your participation in the board. We know that oftentimes you get pulled and tugged in both directions, sometimes by a minority with loud voices and sometimes with a majority with no voice. And we appreciate what you do because we know that you have the best interests of the students and the community in the back of your minds. You have anything?
I would just like to express my appreciation, and on behalf of Sue and myself, who work extensively with you, but from the standpoint, what you have done with what could have been, and what you and your association had promised to never create a liability for the district. You have created a tremendous asset for the district, and the asset goes well beyond Oakwood Elementary School, but throughout the whole district, being able to proudly have that as an access for a nature experience for our students, but our families and off hours, but your dedication, and I always just smile when you do have unique projects that need the attention of our maintenance department. You ask only when you need machinery or big help with that to take care of, but so much of it is a labor of love, and you and your committee have just done a fantastic job of taking care of this wonderful asset of the district, and it's my compliments to all of you for all your dedication to that service. It is something with pride that when I have guests in the community, I take them there to show them of what volunteerism does, as well as what dedication of the Sheldon family to enhance the district has been. What a wonderful example of really thinking about the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I just want to add, I can't think of too many entities in the school district that have the track record that the Sheldon Area Nature Committee has had and the impact that you've had on student learning. I really think that your passion and your stewardship of this resource for the students and their learning is commendable. So Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, we don't do the tree planting in the spring for the kids, we do it for ourselves, because we get so much more out of it. They have a ball, but it's so neat, you know, to have them leave and understand that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, because we show them the trees that were planted 20 years ago. And they, you know, we tell them, when you come back with your kids, you can say, this is what I did. You know, it's wonderful.
Great.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, it looks like we would have a public comment section on the proposed deed restrictions for the Sheldon Nature Preserve Center as by law. I see nobody coming forward, so we will move on to our next workshop. Workshop number 2, Strategic Compensation Guidelines Update. Michael Knoll, Sue Snore, and Julie Mosier, and Kim Brown.
Good evening. What I'm going to do is give you a Reader's Digest version of when we started and bring you right through the last 2 years. That seems like a long time, but it's going to be the summary of that. And then what Kim is going to do is go over the revisions that have been made to the strategic compensation model, and then we'll be ready for any questions that you may have. So we have to go back on this journey all the way back into the summer of 2013. And in the summer of 2013, there were a lot of school districts across the state of Wisconsin that were looking at revising their compensation structures. And so Oshkosh was also one of them. The reason why districts were looking at to revise or to restructure their salary structures is because the resources coming into districts and the cost of the lanes and the steps back then in the traditional system just didn't match up. The cost far exceeded the revenues coming in. So at that time, the Oshkosh Area School District was working on the strategic plan. And during that summer, or shortly after, that plan was adopted by the board. And in that plan, there were 2 components relative to the compensation model. And I just want to read those for you and for the public. There was priority 1, which is to support and recognize the value of our quality teachers by all community members. And then there was goal 1B, and goal 1B stated, which is to develop a database model to compensate Oshkosh Area School District professional educators for quality and effectiveness. Once the strategic plan was adopted by the board, then we put the wheels in motion relative to how we're going to go forward and possibly restructure this. And what we ended up doing was creating a committee of 24 people, 17 professional educators, 17 educators from all different levels in the district, all different buildings, along with some pupil services staff. And we had 7 administrators, the 4 of us, and 3 building principals on that team. That committee then started their work in we're still back in 2013, about November of 2000, December of 2013. And that committee from late 2013 until about May of 2014 put in a number of hours and a number of meetings, of course. And what they did was they examined compensation models from the state of Wisconsin, Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, did a lot of studying and a lot of research. The ironic thing is that when we examined the Appleton model, which was based on professional growth, we realized that, hey, we think we have something here. We looked at their framework and we started to work with that type of model. So the model that we went with was really one that was structured to enhance professional growth, to enhance one's professional practice, and because we strongly believe that if we grow our teachers and grow our educators, the outcome and the result will be higher student achievement. That was the premises that we were working with. Then we worked all the way from late 2013 through the spring of 2014. We were probably in about May of 2014. We had a final product done. We brought it to the Board of Education in July of 2014 in a workshop setting. And then on August 13th of 2014, it was approved and authorized by the Board of Education to go forward. Once we had that was August 13 of 14 already. We had a communication rollout where the 4 of us rolled it out with all the professional educators the first week of school last fall. Then we implemented it, and of course, as we implemented it, we still had to meet, and we met quite often, consulting and looking at what we were doing and answering questions for the staff. But we implemented all the way through the 14-15 school year, and it's been implemented. Then, part of the plan is that once a year it will be reviewed, and so we brought the committee back together. We brought them back in February, March, and April, or February, March, and April, yes, of 14. We met 3 times. We looked at the plan, we studied it, we answered questions, and we did ultimately make some revisions. And that's where we're going to show you some of the revisions that we're proposing.
So the very first revision, really, first you probably need to know, district points can be earned under some different categories. So there's contribution points, meaning that the teacher is doing something that's either contributing to the building, the district, or the school community. So clinical students, student teachers, working registration, helping out with STEM night, those type of things, all would qualify under contribution points. And then the other area we had were the 4 pillars. And if you recall, the 4 pillars was effective instruction and assessment, disciplinary literacy, integrating technology, and the social emotional. So understanding that in a deeper way to help students. So those are the 4 pillars that you could earn district points with. This year we also talked about earning points under collaboration and up to 7 points under that. We said that collaboration is when you and a colleague are working together to create some kind of product or action plan. We think that can definitely build the capacity in teachers, but we wanted to limit that to 7 because we also wanted, the committee had talked about, we really want to make sure that we also have some areas where we can grow in those other 4 pillar areas. So that's our very first piece there, is adding the collaboration piece.
And if I could add, Kim, that the district points, from my perspective, is really the engine of this whole system, because as educators work to get their district points, that's where we're hoping that they're going to be growing, developing, and then being able to take that to the classroom, and ultimately student achievement would improve because of that. The other thing is that it's critical that we understand that in this system, the district points and everything there is aligned to the 4 learning pillars.
Right.
Because when you look at this structure compared to a traditional structure, there was no alignment to the district initiatives, and in order to move through this system, you move through it based on professional growth, and so those pieces differ from a traditional system.
We are also adding a pre-approval form for graduate credits. People were putting it in the normal area, and it was sometimes difficult to get back to them because they would put it in after they started taking the course, and sometimes the course did not align to one of the 4 pillars. We really wanted to make sure that there was a process in place to get them immediate feedback to if that course would align with one of the 4 pillars. So that's in place as well, and we're also working on a way to give them immediate feedback just on the form that we're looking at. So that will be an efficiency that we hope to see soon. The National Board Certification and the Wisconsin Master Educator Professional Assessment process are both pieces that we knew we wanted to acknowledge and give points for, but we needed to learn more about the process this year to learn how to decide on what the points were. So we did bring in people who've gone to get their National Board Teacher Certification, as well as people who've gotten their Wisconsin Master Educator Professional Assessment, so that we could learn more in order to figure out what that would be worth and which each area would be. And then in the end, we just did this more for clarification, that you can, this next year, it's 35 district points. You can earn it by getting up to 10 contribution points, up to 7 collaboration points, or up to 35 district points that align with pillars. And then as far as the columns, that has not changed a great deal. But again, column 1 is your bachelor degree. And then if you get your master's or your National Board Certification or your Wisconsin Master Educator Assessment process, you've gone through that, that would move you to column 2. You'll see those same things in column 3, and that's because you might get your National Board Certification and then get your master's the following time, or you could do that reversed. So we just wanted to leave that so that people could have opportunity to move in different ways. And then, of course, the 4th column was the doctorate. So. And other than that, the rest is pretty normal, or similar to last year. There was little things that we did to give more examples and lay it out in a cleaner way. The group said that would help teachers with that. And then the other piece that we looked at is the different universities. You'll see that some universities, it's 10 district points for every credit, and other universities, it is less. And the reason that is because the rigor with different coursework, we were finding out was very different, and people who are going through the university system was going, okay, but I'm putting in 45 hours in class time and reading books and essays and writing papers, and then there was other coursework where you read the book and you wrote a paper, and so it wasn't equitable that way. So that's why that is changing. We have a subcommittee that is meeting whenever a new university or a new institution comes to light so that we can investigate that and talk about that as a group. And that's made up of teachers and administrators. And that is everything new. What questions do you have?
I don't know if you can answer this tonight, but how is this affecting our budget? How are we able then to move our teachers into the different columns, as well as, once you get your points, obviously you're compensated as well?
In the budget estimate that I gave you, that we have to cut like $5 million, that
Yeah.
does include moving every single teacher up a point level.
Okay.
So I think that it's just shy of like $700,000 for every, and I assumed every single teacher would move. Now, I'm sure there's teachers who probably aren't going to get their points, but.
Right now, we have 572 teachers who have earned their 20 district points, and then there's several that are, they're coming in daily.
Or do they have?
They have a full year.
12 months,
Yep.
not, okay.
We have until June 30th.
Right.
So there'll be a bunch.
They're coming in every day, so.
Got it.
I have no doubt that we'll have many more before June 30th.
And the state gives you zero.
Yep.
Nothing is affordable.
Right.
But you can't just sit on nothing. I mean, to keep and attract and retain good teachers, we had to do something. And the $800 per point level movement, about cut in half what the staff movement was from the other district.
Thank you.
So in the budget part of the workshop staff report, where it says budget financial impact, $787,000, that's for the movement for
Yes.
those teachers? Okay. And I would assume there would be some savings because of people who retire at the end of the year or they move, and so the new replacements coming in would not be accruing those step movements. And I have one other question. I went through the documents that you highlighted, and that was very helpful to have those in blue on that page with that
The
clever
links, they're at the top
graphic.
and the bottom.
Okay. And I looked at the pre-approval form, and then I looked at the OASD district point form. And I would just make one recommendation. On the pre-approval of the university course, you have a section asking which pillar does it most align to, and then you have five listed underneath. On the district points, there's a similar question that reads, which of the 4 learning pillars does this event apply? And you have the same 5. So to me, that's a little confusing from an outsider when you say there are 4 pillars, but you have a list of 5.
Confused.
I'll have to look into that because there should only be 4, so.
Okay. They're the same pillars on each form. I'm just suggesting that perhaps it could be the same to avoid confusion for new people or outside people who are looking at this.
It should match up with what's in the guide. Absolutely.
You see what I'm referring
Oh,
to?
because they have the contribution as something separate, because that's not one of the pillars, so there is
Okay.
only 4 pillars, but
Okay.
contribution is another area that they could
Okay.
get something in.
That's what I thought
Yeah.
after listening to you tonight, but
Yeah.
perhaps both lists could
Yeah.
say that.
Yes, and we
Or
can be more
indicate
clear
that.
in the 4 pillars or contribution
Sure.
or collaboration
However you
now.
choose to
Yep,
do it.
that's great, Phil, thank you.
Thank you.
Under the columns, you have the BA, the MA, and Doctorate, PhD. In the fine arts, the MFA is their terminal degree. And I don't know if there's any MFAs teaching here, but I know there's in other school districts. would that MFA get you into that column? And does that need to be listed?
We'll have to research that.
Good point.
MFA,
Master of Fine Arts.
Master of Fine Arts.
Like an MAE.
Yep. I just want to research it because we've had a number of different situations that have come to us, and we've had to do a tremendous amount of research and study and then make some decisions. So I don't want to just be a yes or no without having the opportunity just to research it.
You know, when they're job searching at the university for the fine arts, they require the MFA, which is their terminal degree. They don't have a PhD. So,
I've got friends with MFAs. Other comments? I'd just like to say that, when you guys first brought this forward, I'm glad that the team that was assembled. It's been a year now. My concern with this was when we first started was that other districts certainly are still kind of finding themselves burdened by some of these things. We were able to move forward, and that was at that time was what I thought was the most important thing. This is a living document. It's going to be changing every year. It's under annual review, but you have to start somewhere. And I applaud you guys for starting this, even though there was some resistance somewhat on just implementation of it. We needed to do it when we did it so that we could be sitting here at this table this evening reviewing this a year later. So I'm glad that we did take that step forward. Thank you, guys. Looks like our next workshop, strategic plan update. Dr. Gunrock, Julie Mosier, and Kim Brown.
and Dr. Gumliff will join us when he gets back. He's over-presenting to parents on the whole one-to-one at West High School, and the good news is he's not back, which means that he has an audience. We didn't expect him, depending upon how fast the agenda moved, but it means, because he said to us yesterday he wasn't sure whether he'd have 330 or 300. I'm trusting it's more than 30, and it's a good thing because it's an opportunity for parents to learn about the one-to-one initiative for next year.
Most of the parents that I spoke with wanted to go
Sure.
tonight, not in the fall, because it was too busy in the fall.
Sure. So that's where Dr. Gumluck is, but we have two capable partners who are working this as closely as anyone in Julie and Kim.
So our workshop here is the strategic plan update. This is a great segue from going from the strategic compensation plan right into the Oshkosh Area School District's full strategic plan, because the strategic compensation plan was part of Priority Area 1, which Kim will review. But as we look at this, we are now into the second full year of our strategic plan, and 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we really talked about what is our way to move forward, and our way to move forward is through the community. And if you remember, as a board, those of you that were with us, we were really working on what's the vision, how are we going to do that, how are we going to pull the community in, and our tagline, building community through education, has really just shined this whole entire time. If you remember from Dr. Gunlock's presentation on the one-to-one initiative, that will be on every single student's case as they are delivered their Chromebooks in the fall. So building community through education started with the Community Foundation, saying that we want to help the school district re-engage with the community, then the formation of O4E, and then taking all that information that was collected by O4E and helped collect it through focus groups, really asking the community, and then getting the priorities in place. And from there, we took all that information and put our strategic plan together. If you notice down at the bottom, there was the website, so anybody that wants to go check out our full strategic plan, the many pages of it, and all the different subtasks that will just highlight, you go to our website, then / strategic plan.
Okay, and we're going to be looking at each of the 5 priorities that we have up here, and we'll do that as we go through. But just when we go through, you're going to see that it's really looking at the progress for each priority that we have. And just a reminder that sometimes you'll see that there was a goal that had a high percentage, and then the next time it went down, and then it went back up. If it had gone down, it's because we had added a new goal to it. For example, with our compensation, we also had put on the online clinic, so that was a new goal, so the percentage had gone down, and then when that was complete, it went back up again. And sometimes we added additional tasks. So as you're looking at it and wondering about that, that would be the reason that it fluctuates over time. All right, and so our very first priority is priority 1, supporting and recognizing the value of our quality teachers by all community members. And you can see that there's a lot of things in place. Looking over at our bulletin board, and you got to see the winners of last year and this year's Teachers of the Year, or Educators of the Year, and other employee groups as well. And then also, you heard tonight about our compensation plan, so that's in here. And then the last 2 is aligning funding, staffing, and resources within schools to reduce non-teaching tasks. We're at 84% there. Some of the roadblocks with that is to create real efficiencies or to reduce some of the things that teachers are doing. It really just does take money, and that's one of the reasons we're kind of stuck where we are with that. Developing and implementing an educator effectiveness plan. We have put that fully. The one area that we haven't yet is making sure that we have something for all employee groups, but we're also waiting on DPI on some of that. So we've moved forward as much as we could in this area, but we hope to continue to build that next year and hopefully finish that.
I think for clarification, classroom teachers, we're right on target with. It's some of the other categories.
Yes.
That is,
Yep,
that
it's
it's
some
delaying
of our other
training.
licensed groups that we do not have in place. But again, DPI was going to give us some guidance on that, and I think DPI will in the future, so. Priority 2 is working together to achieve a common goal. You've heard a lot, I think, from Stan this year about fostering and growing the citywide PTO. That group is really coming together. They're meeting monthly, and I think that next year you're going to see that this goal is going to grow more because now there's more stability and consistency in the same person coming each month. And I think Stan could probably speak to that more, but I know that
In the struggle we've had, and we were hoping to organize it with a little more representative structure, but PTO leaders from buildings have been resistant to taking on additional duties, so what they are actually doing is rotating their leadership month to month as opposed to having a overhead structure, and being respectful of, we're talking about peer volunteers here, to be respectful of that they have led the way on having organized topics, focus on comparative work together, but it has not evolved into a new formalized structure. Both the minutes and the agendas are prepared in the superintendent's office by Sherry, and based on their requests, and so they don't take on a separate structure unto themselves. But to me, I can't imagine not having that sounding board with the community as being an essential means of communicating and getting ideas from parents. And I look forward to the meeting every month because it's a good way to be sure that I have contact with parents.
And then there's some things that are going to really help out the board. As you know, we've put in our data system this year, and there's some additional features that they're putting together for the dashboard, and as those come out, it will be even more efficient for all of us to receive the data to make informed decisions. And then priority 3 is communication, implementing the school messaging system that happened with Infinite Campus. And then we've got goal 3B, developing and implementing a communication plan that highlights OSD information and accomplishments. We've done a lot of things through press releases. We have the show Inside Look. We're starting to write stories and put those into the Northwestern to inform people of some of the great things happening. But we also know that there's even more to do in that communication area. So that's an area that we're looking at and hoping to build in as we go. Part of it will be in our website, Why Oshkosh. We are going to be working on that this summer to really fully develop that. And then the social media piece is something that we're still going to have to look at more closely as we go forward.
The Northwestern Head continues to cooperate in our building principals. Anything we give them, they publish. And if you look at the Sunday edition of the newspaper, the stories about activities in our schools are very much a part of that that publication. And we have to thank our principals and their staff for making sure to get information into that, because that contributes to our face in the community.
Yeah, and I would agree, Stan, that also our community-based organizations that we partner with have done a great job of highlighting our partnerships and also publishing pieces and photos to highlight those partnerships. So they've really helped us along too, because once again, getting the word out there that we really are building community through education is a
Both
key.
the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club have been just
Absolutely.
outstanding in showing our partnership together with them.
So going on to priority 4. Go ahead.
Back on priority 3.
Oh, okay. Going back.
Just a suggestion. We recently had a survey, maybe 2 years ago, through the community when we were looking to do that last year's April referendum. And one of the components within that survey, I distinctly remember, dealt with communication and how that our community gets communication. And I want to say that the number was dramatically low. It was like 18% of the community gets their information about the school district from us. And there was different components within there. Perhaps it wouldn't be a bad idea to take a look at that survey and find out where they do get their information, and is there some way that we can parasitically attach ourselves to that and get some more information in there in that way.
And as I recall, the dominant factor there was from other parents?
Yep.
As I recall?
Exactly right.
Yep. It was from fellow parents, of which our efforts to communicate effectively with parents and to enhance and trust them to communicate it, but that was the largest, by far the largest component was from fellow parents.
And O4E, Oshkosh for Education, has been asking us how can we help. So the area that they are really supporting us in is the communication. It just so happens that the upcoming president of O4E, Jamie Seaman, happens to be a communications expert from UW Oshkosh. And so having her expertise on board and other members helping us with that communication piece has been a great asset. So they've really been coaching us up on those ways that we need to reach out and communicate. So, excellent.
There was a superintendent in the Green Bay Area School District many years ago. It's probably more than 12. His name was Dan Narad, and he went from Green Bay to Madison, but he got attention from the Green Bay radio or television stations on a somewhat regular basis because he would go to, I think, the equivalent of our farmers market, and he would be visible. That would be another venue to take a look at. There are farmers markets. Now there's going to be one on Wednesday evenings over in South Park. There's one at Festival Foods which has been held during the days on Tuesdays, and then the Saturday markets. You know, maybe that's something the board would want to explore. Have one board member and maybe an administrator. I'm not volunteering all of you, but having been at the Saturday Farmers Market on behalf of Oshkosh Area United Way, there's a lot of interaction that takes place simply because they see you and your logo when they come up and talk, and it's very informal. I understand there's another nonprofit in the community that has been very successful in recruiting mentors for students by making use of the visibility of the farmers market. So that's another thing that would be relatively low cost. It would be a matter of finding out whether or not there's space, because I understand the farmers market, at least the Saturday farmers market, which now will also be doing the Wednesday nights, has a limited number of spaces for nonprofits, but it would be something to explore if we wanted to.
Thank you.
It's been quite successful with the occasional participation, I know, of serving on the public library board. They've been represented there as well.
Right, moving on to priority area 4 was equity among schools. As the focus groups were formed and the focus groups were talking to the community, the equity issue came up over and over again, and it really was equity around technology. And so this is an area that we have tackled and also had tackled through the referendum last spring, about 15 months ago. So developing the 3-year technology plan, it's 97%. It's not 100% complete because we still have to do the one-to-one implementation. And if you remember, that technology plan and that rollout with the referendum, I believe, was all the way out to 2020. I believe Dr. Gunlock had all of that all the way out. So we're not quite at 100%, but we're really close. A standard of practice in facilities and resources. We really focused on the technology piece of that because that, once again, that came up over and over again about the inequity of technology among classrooms and among schools. So now what we're taking a look at and trying to tackle is what does that look like when it comes to classroom and other things besides technology. Then developing a student at-risk plan. We are at 76% because you represented the plan and the board approved that and we moved forward with it, but there are definitely components in there that we actually have to take action on and implement, because remember, it was a plan that was projecting out how are we going to support students that at any time could be at risk of not graduating from school or dropping out, etc. And then the last one here is the response to intervention plan that we have in place for the Oshkosh Area School District, once again supporting our students, whether it be in enriching them and supporting them and stretching them and challenging them, or supporting them if they happen to be struggling in school. So that is fully in place and is actually embedded in our actually supportive, our PK-12 supportive and now I'm not going to think of the other half of it, but plan.
I've had conversation within the last 10 days with two staff from different elementary schools speaking to G4B in a broader sense than technology, and that is in regard to not only instructional resources, but also furniture. They felt they were great, and they were independent conversations. I didn't share one with the other. They each brought up these topics, so there must be some, I don't know, at least interest, if not concern, in the furniture. Whether it's desks that were purchased many years ago when at least some students were smaller than they are today, perhaps, or mismatches of chairs in classrooms that aesthetically maybe don't create as friendly a learning climate. But I hope that we can go beyond technology and looking at equity among the schools, and however we choose to define that. I think that technology is absolutely essential in terms of defining equity and establishing standards across the district, but I think we should be looking at some other areas as well.
And you're exactly right, and that's why we are still stuck at the 66% mark and not towards 100, because it is a lot more than technology. But technology was the area that was identified that we needed to tackle first.
Absolutely.
So,
One of the things when we were down in Mobile reviewing this, what they had come up with the community-based the Education Commission concept. The school that they had down there was dead last, I think, in the state. When they tried to change the school through a number of different ways, I mean, the community that was there was really brutal in a way. I mean, they ended up having, I think it was a cat stuck to the door when they tried to change things. This was a really hard thing for this community to change this school. They went to like uniforms to keep the drug dealers out, all this other stuff. But one of the things that struck me down there when we went into that building, they didn't do new additions or anything like that, and certainly the building was maintained on the outside good. But inside, they had repainted every classroom, every hallway, and when the kids went in there with this multiple different things changed, this sense of community was one of pride all of a sudden. And they said that within a year, that school had gone to a blue ribbon school, I believe it was, which means it's in like the upper 80% or something. And the whole community, when we were there, we witnessed they would walk these kids out to these housing projects, and all along the blocks and blocks there would be people from the community sitting out there with coolers full of water and stuff to give to the kids as they went by and this kind of thing. And what I'm saying here is that I kind of agree with what Dr. Herzog is saying, that a classroom environment, certainly painted well, comfortable, that kind of thing, I think is also an equitable situation as well as technology.
And I think those are issues, for example, and taking on, let's just use Lakeside as an example. One of the things Jim has committed to is really advancing and upgrading so that I think every classroom is going to be repainted this year. It's going to make the whole, along with the lockers in the existing hall, so that we create an environment that is positive and attractive, and the rotation, and we have one full-time painter, and when you look at how many rooms we have, and our painter retired this year. Fortunately, we replaced the painter who has been going across the district. That level of intense need across the district to get around that often is certainly there, even those atmosphere, in addition to the furniture. The other piece that I should say is that part of the extreme change that occurred was not just furniture and paint, but they replaced the entire teaching staff in that building. That made the difference with academic outcomes. It wasn't just paint. Yes. The new teachers and staff that came into the building made a difference too.
Right. And thank you for adding, because that was one point that I was going to put, that it's high quality instruction matters, and it's it's teaching and learning and what's going on in the classroom that really matters. However, though, having a welcoming environment that's conducive to learning just supports it and accelerates the great things that are happening in the classroom. So it's working on both of those in tandem, but teaching and learning is the core of what.
Some of it's the atmosphere. I just think about the brightness. For example, we were able, because we had enough resources with the McKinstry project at Washington last year, that we went to upgraded LED lighting. Brightness in a classroom is that the dreariness, good light makes a very important part of instruction, and that's part of the effort that I think we certainly need across the district, so that we, I think back to the old classrooms where you had milk glass, 3 milk glass lights in the middle of the room, and you wondered how children saw what they were supposed to do.
So priority area 4 is at a 81% completion rate. Moving on to priority area 5, team with groups in the community to develop educational experiences, and once again building that community through education. This is actually 2 slides, because priority 5 we really feel is the powerhouse behind the strategic plan, because really teaching and learning is at the heart of priority area 5. So goals 5A and 5B deal with partnering with the community. The first goal, 5A, deals with partnering with the community to get support services, to get barriers out of the way for our students in the classroom. And goal 5B is talking about partnering with the community for those for learning experiences, whether bringing the community into the classroom or going out into the community as the classroom. And so you can see we're expanding those partnerships, and we're going, that's establishing and strengthening those partnerships. And I think you can see from the pieces that you have authorized over the past couple of months in recent resolutions, and also out in the community in the buzz, and we talked about the communication, that we really are, strengthening those partnerships and bringing new ones on board. And that's just an area that I know that I'm really very proud of our school district, as far as getting out there and extending that hand. And we know that moving forward was really through the community, and they've really stepped up and supported us. So there you can see.
I would just add, 2 weeks ago now, we had a very brief breakfast celebration with our 21 apprentice students, and the relationship between the employers being well represented, their parents, and our teaching staff, particularly our tech ed teaching staff, who feel real affirmed now that their connection and their work in the 2 high schools have a real connection back to the business community, and that their programs that they offer are not as viewed as simply disconnected or dated, that they're having the preparatory skills that are necessary for each of those connections in the community.
Goal 5C represents our commitment that we understand as a school district that education helps fuel economic development, and our community knows that quality education, UW-Oshkosh, Fox Valley Technical College, our public school systems helps fuel economic development too. We're only at 27% there because that's going to be, to me, that's an ongoing goal that we're going to keep doing that and keep looking for what are ways that we can support in education, economic development within our community, because as we go into the next part, 5D, every student is college, career, and community ready. We want to make sure that there's community jobs, careers, and things available for students right here in our community and in our region, and keeping those students with us in our community. And there's a lot of research that says a lot of our students stay here and or they may go away but come back to raise their families. And so we really want to continue to support that. Continuing on with Goal 5D, you'll notice that we're only at 53% because this is a huge one. Getting students college, career, and community ready and lifelong learning is going to be our mission for years and years to come. And so going from PK, from our 4K Ready for Learning, all the way to getting ready to graduate our students in a week from today is a big venture. And as Stan has mentioned several times, that's like a 16-year proposition that we're talking about. And so the product, the things that we're currently doing with our youngest students, we're not going to see for a while, but we have to be paying attention to that now with that goal, once again, of being college, career, and community ready. And when we lay out that goal, we're also not being super specific either, because we have to keep in mind our 4-year-olds that are going to get ready to go into kindergarten. We can't even imagine the world that they are going to be, we're preparing them for, and so that's going to constantly change. So my hope is as we go forward and we start to look at what our goals are in our strategic plan, that we keep this goal and keep our eye on that, because that is going to be something that we're going to continually have to work on.
And our pre-4K or 4K area, we're talking about our graduates of 2030.
Yes.
And remember that it's pretty significant in the fact that how important it is to keep your eye on the outcome, unlike what's happening in Madison. And that is not paying attention to the future. What's happening in Madison is yesterday. But what we're educating today is 2030.
Well, if that didn't shock our audience, I don't know what did. Okay, so continuing on with Priority 5, going into Goal 5E. This is another area, as you know, the Oshkosh Area School District, we are declining enrollment, and we want to make sure that we are not further declining our enrollment because of open enrollment. And so we have really been paying attention to reversing that trend. We will have some official data. I'll talk about metrics in just a little bit here, but we will be looking at those metrics. And if you recall, we did a survey about those different things. We're currently at 75%. Goal 5F, resolving the South Area facilities and adequacy issues, lakeside solution. We're getting there, and so I have a feeling the next time we update you, we're going to be a lot further along than 64%.
So we'll open the doors to that new addition, and we'll move that number.
We'll move it significantly, yes, agreed. And so this next one, 5G, this has been slowly developing. This is the process of establishing one or more magnet schools or schools of choice. And there have been other areas in here that we've been really working on, but you can see from the innovation funding that you authorized at our last board meeting that we're starting to move in that direction and looking at what are our different options, making sure that families and students have choices in the way that they learn. So I would anticipate that as we move forward, once again with the strategic plan, I would like to see us continue with this goal as we move forward and look at that. So with this priority area, we're at a 53% completion rate, but that's because there is a whole lot of subtasks and a lot of energy and time that goes into this particular priority area.
And particularly the need in the future for additional resources to
absolutely.
fund those.
And Stan, that's a great segue into our summary here, because we've made significant progress, but additional resources are necessary for goals that are not yet completed. And so that's one of the things that we've been really working on, is what are those revenue sources? What are those things that we actually need? How can we leverage our resources within the community? And then what does that look like? Does it have to, we just went to referendum 15 months ago, but now what is that going to look like going forward? And what does how is Madison contributing to being able to move forward with our resources? So our key success factors that we've identified as an executive team is that board support and help us stay focused on those action steps. There's a lot of things that you have supported and authorized to help us move forward, and so help us help you keep focused on those action steps. The referendum support provided resources to fund our current projects and going forward, and I hope our community sees the fruit of those labors, especially this fall as our students have electronic devices in their hand in the fall, grades 9 through 12. And a great deal of hard work has gone in from so many different, from our teachers in the classroom, educators in the building, our support staff, just everybody has just put in a tremendous amount of work to make this work, and it's amazing how far we have come with this. And so just help us keep focused and continue to support us, because we have continued amazing things to come. So our next steps is that we are going to continue on with this, because as you can see, some of our areas we're reaching that 100% completion, and so we need to start thinking about, we've said we got to focus on areas, and we hope that we continue on focusing college, career, community ready, those magnet schools. But then what are the other pieces? So we're going to start working with Oshkosh for Education, O4E, to start to gather data from the Oshkosh community so that we can present that to you. Then we're going to recommend focus on sustaining a lot of the things in this first plan. Once again, authorizing that innovation funding last week was key, because once again, it's going to take care in feeding and watering of those pieces that we've started to innovate with to keep going. So keeping our eye and focus on that. And then really, what are those revenue sources, resources that we need for those tasks that are unmet, and really clearly identifying what do we truly need to move forward.
And we certainly focus on the big pieces, but just this week, Julie was able to receive information on additional grants that we've been awarded that will be $75,000 in.
Well, we'll let a little bit of the cat out. We haven't done the press release yet, but we were awarded a CLC grant for Tipler and Roosevelt at the rate of $75,000 for this coming school year, with a potential for an additional $400,000 over the next 4 years. So, and once again, it depends on funding, and that, but it's just further support of our extended learning days and expanding that to Tipler and Roosevelt.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so you'll see more on that. That was just, our staff was just informed of that at Tipler and Roosevelt today, and so you'll see a press release and further information. So once again, just really proud of our staff. Yeah.
We don't leave a single opportunity that's in non-traditional means stand by itself. We
Absolutely.
make valiant attempts to get every source and resource that
So, any questions?
When we go back and we start going through the community with questions about what they would like to see within a strategic plan framework. I mean, I talked to Beth Wyman about this a few weeks back, along with Dr. Herzog. Are we going to assume that essentially those 5 areas will remain consistent, and the questions, the way that they're asked of the community, are going to fit within those 5, or are completely different?
Well, some of it, as you can see, there's a lot of things that we have to continue in order to sustain what we've already created, so some of that's there, but I think, I believe that they're going to use similar questions from last time, and so it'll be really interesting to hear from the community if some of these same things come up, or if it's changing, but I think we're going to have to wait to hear what comes back from the community to know that for sure.
If you recall the sequence of events the last time that we went out for information from the community, we did the focus groups with O4E, and then the information was compiled, and actually the 5 areas were formed, and then they were asked to be ranked by the community. So depending on, those questions can be used again, and the areas or the way it falls out or we categorize it is really going to be dependent on what the community has to say. So I think some are going to be the same, but I could definitely see some of the priority areas changing.
Yeah, and that's what Beth Wyman was saying. She wanted to have kind of an apples-to-apples approach to this if they go back. because if the community's perception is not changing this, or we come up with completely different questions, then we're not going to kind of...
Right.
And what we want to be very careful that we don't abandon the initiatives that are underway. Those have been promises and commitments to the community. But I think administratively, we're very cautious to not get into prediction, because we would prefer that we not potentially damage new initiatives. We would prefer to really hear with a blank slate from the community what may be the direction, and I think that's the healthiest approach to it, is not to prejudge what the community will say and give us direction on, but yet at the same time holding sacred the initiatives that you've authorized and allowed us to proceed on as being solid for the future, because if there's anything that I heard, one of the things I heard of criticism before I came to the district was flip-flopping, and the issue of going one direction and then changing directions and not having consistency. And our administrative team and you as board members have demonstrated that as tough as it is sometimes, you've been just truly very positive with wanting us to stay on target and stay in the direction, and that's critical to our success and our reputation in the community.
Well, we had 10 years or whatever, 15 without any plan at all.
Right.
And there's been many great things that have been done over the last 5, 6, 7 years. But I think that the key component on really what is starting to change this around, and actually now is starting to get a little bit of positive momentum, has been the creation of that strategic plan, but more importantly, the incorporation of our community in that process. Because I keep up on that. I look at other municipal governments, and they don't necessarily ask the community. It's like, here's what we think, and you take this. And I think by really asking the community, we keep talking about getting stakeholder buy-in and all these other words that crop up, it seems like, on every other week or so. This year is pedagogy, but whatever.
That's one of my favorite words, actually.
It is a nice one.
Automaticity.
Pedagogical authenticity.
Especially when it comes to teacher training. Yes.
Absolutely. But I think by embracing the community and really seeking their support, that I think that this is really, probably, in my opinion, it is the most important thing that we've done in the last 5 years.
So going back to Community Point, one of the things that we've heard at, like, we've held community meetings so far the last 2 Septembers, and one thing that keeps coming up is, so what are the metrics behind the strategic plan? So tonight you saw the completion metrics. So like you measure things either qualitative or quantitatively, and so looking at this is just completion. This is what's been checked off the list, this is how far we got. So now the community is going to go, okay, so where's the proof here, because it's really about student learning and achievement. So all the data points that come with the annual report, if you recall, like our school district report card or the other factors behind student achievement, those data points have not been released yet. And so you are going to see, as those start to become released, and in the fall, you're going to see a full report from us as far as where we are with those metrics, and a lot more details than just matched up with the strategic plan. So that will be coming, so never fear if you are looking for those metric pieces. Those will be filled in as soon as those data points become available.
Thank you, Julie, because that would be a question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to check it off the list, but then
Correct.
how?
Exactly, and because that's what we're all about, is being college, career, and community ready, but it's what is that student achievement piece. That's the foundation of our academics.
I mean, one of the pieces in there with the equity, you were talking about facilities during that equity piece, and I believe it was around 67% or something. It just strikes me, even with that long-term capital improvement plan, that would kind of fit into that too, because we're actually looking at this in a long-term manner. The creation of Fund 46, which actually makes this perhaps not sustainable, but it actually gives it a little bit of a kick as far as monetarily. Those things, I mean, I don't know if you included those in that, those figures or not, but I would think that things like that should,
because what Jim has created for us in developing that plan is, from a pure facility standpoint, how we can fill in the gap to create that level of equity across the district by maintaining our buildings and by replacing things in a timely manner into the future, and prioritizing the basic budget, but future set-aside funds that could be used to offset that, because if you don't have a plan, you don't know when you got there, and that's a critical piece along the way. Part of what is so critical, and that's where our continued communication and each of our executive team members are doing this very well, is that relating to and making sure that as we respond to and work with not just our parents but the greater community, building trust and confidence in the community in us is a critical variable, and I would argue that our relationship with the greater community, with the Chamber of Commerce, with their engagement with our being involved in economic development, all of those have created a different face on the district than they've had before, and that's a critical piece as we move forward, both from a standpoint of support of educational systems, but eventually support financially again, of understanding that we have to have a relationship. We are not by ourselves.
Yes.
And what I hear from the greater community is that that they recognize that the success of the greater community is also tied to a sound pre-K through 12, post-secondary, 2-year Fox Valley Technical and the university system is critical to our long-term success, and ignoring that in any way is damaging the future of the community.
I wanted to bring up a couple of points which I believe are in line with your second point up there on sustaining progress from the first plan. And I just want to focus on one of the areas and a couple of sub-points within that. That would be G2D. One of those points under that speaks to
The board work sessions and the
on the board, right.
Yep.
As I've gone to a number of WASB workshops, one of the themes that keeps reoccurring is that excellence in the classroom, or excellence in the boardroom, is reflected in excellence in the classroom. You two did a great job of presenting tonight. One of the subpoints under that G2D notes that twice a year the O4E Education Commission will attend the school board workshops to update and refine as necessary. I think it's really important to have someone from that commission attend at least twice a year, as is noted here, if that's going to be a goal. I think it shows the commitment. I know the people are committed. I know they're busy, but I think it's also important that they come into the boardroom and share from that perspective as something of someone as an outsider. There's also a couple in here that deal with identifying resources to provide professional development for the board, or training on policy and governance. This is just one resource. It's being updated by the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, but this might be something that the board might want to consider. At the last WASB workshop that Jim Evans and I both attended, one of the suggestions was that the board look at a chapter a month or something like that. As you can see, this is less weighty than the 5-pound kettlebell I exercise with, and so it's not that much to carry around, and at least would provide some food for thought. And then finally, one of the things I have appreciated is what I've seen as growth in the quality of the staff reports that the board has received over the time I've been on the board. There's more detail there, which is in line with providing the board with comprehensive information on which to provide data-driven decision-making. The one thing I would like to see on those reports is in the section that asks if this is related to the strategic plan, rather than just putting down the number like G2D, if there could just be a short phrase or something so that I don't have to go and look that up every time. Or if that could be incorporated into the staff report and it's a checkoff or something, I don't know, but something that would make that more clear. there are people in the community who like to read those reports, and I think it would be beneficial to those people in the community who follow what we do, that 18% perhaps are getting that information from us, so. But I think it was a well-designed report, and it's great to hear the progress, so thank you.
One of the things I did think that there's got to be a pre-programmed little micro system that if we type in the goal number, these words, there is that system.
Or a link or something.
A link. I forget what those are called, but they are little microbes that you type in three letters, and suddenly the rest of the phrase would appear. So I think we should be able to short-circuit that quickly. So.
Well, that's just my thought on it. Maybe others have.
Tricia, Sherry, and all of our presenters on putting together reports will have to discover that little linkage that I think we'll be able to deal with. It's a good idea. When I think about the end product, and I'm not sure how many people I tend to, after approval of the minutes, Teresa submits to the newspaper the legal publication, and when I look at that amount of black space on print in the newspaper of the official legal publication of the newspaper, I don't know who would sit there and read. I read it to make sure that we don't have any errors, and I'm terribly compulsive on those kind of things, and so I read the legals to just check it out to see do they miss something. And I may be the only person who does that, but the issue is that we lose a lot because we also don't want to be buying more words than we have to because we pay by the word, but it's a very compressed version that doesn't really give the color highlights of what we pay in legals to cover it. We rely on Nathaniel to report more of that color for us. So.
Other comments, questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
At this time, it looks like we have individually considered resolutions. At this time, we entertain a motion for resolution number 1. Be it resolved that the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education approve agreements with 4K and early childhood agencies to enter into contract as filed with the Secretary to the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
It should be noted that there's no change from what was laid over from last week. It was just a clarification meeting took place at 7:30 on Monday morning.
Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, if you would call the roll, please.
Garner?
Aye.
Garner, aye. Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Lumberger?
Aye.
Lumberger, aye. Olmsted?
Aye.
Olmsted, aye. Vito?
Aye.
Vito, aye. Eliason? Evans?
Aye.
Evans, aye. Motion carried.
At this time, requests for future agenda items. Are there any requests for future agenda items? Hearing none, announcements. Does anybody have any announcements to make?
Just a reminder, we're keeping board members very busy this month. 1 week from tonight, we have graduation, 2 locations. I'm trusting most all of you will be participating. And then the following Wednesday, we'll have our second meeting of the month to accomplish that. And then we have about a 5-week respite to allow for vacations for both board members and for some administrators. So, we're in 2 weeks we have our regular scheduled second meeting of the month.
I guess I would like to make an announcement on this past week, on Tuesday, I think it was, myself and Dr. Herzog, and I'm sure there was some others, maybe came a little bit later, attended a thing over at Smith School. You keep reading on these things that we get about our mission statement and our vision statement about creating 21st century critical thinkers and things. And it's easy to throw that rhetoric out there, but to actually witness it being developed is something else that we don't always get a chance to see. We went over to Smith School, elementary school, and we were on a panel. There were a total of 6 of us, and then they had them every hour, I believe, for a total of like 3 or 4 panels. The topic was chocolate milk. Should we have chocolate milk in school, or should we have white milk in school? And the kids went out and they created some PowerPoint presentations. They gathered their information, and they had a pro table, pro white milk, and they had a pro chocolate milk table. And this sounds, whatever, it's elementary kids. what I found interesting about this was that the kids at those tables, actually, almost half of them had switched their initial gut feeling on what that they thought was right. You know, if they thought, I want chocolate milk, half of the kids who sat at that table had changed their mind and moved to the other side of the table because they had went and found data which supported what it was with this new belief structure. And they argued their points very eloquently on the time that myself and Dr. Herzog were there. And you saw those results, I believe.
I did.
I believe the first three panels were all ties, that it was like tied, that we shouldn't have it, we should have it, we shouldn't have it. And the last panel, whoever was in that panel, were you in the last panel? Well, then that would explain it. 5 to 1 in favor of chocolate milk. So, but it was really kind of neat to see this exercise of these little kids taking this very seriously and gathering information in an information age to make critical thinking about this subject.
And I want to say that I used that information that those Smith students shared in our panel today because I was having lunch at another one of our schools where the two beverage choices were chocolate milk, non-fat chocolate milk, or root beer. And I chose chocolate milk. Thinking about what those children had shared with us in their research.
It has iron. We're regular.
You did a great job.
You did. Other announcements?
By the way, that was in the classroom of Amy Monagle. She does a
Yes.
nice job, as
Yes.
do the other teachers at Smith and across the district, and she should be commended for the work that she did with her students.
Demonstration of higher order thinking skills, absolutely. Wow. That's great.
Other announcements? If there are none, at this time, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
No discussion is necessary. Call the roll, please.
Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Lemberger?
Aye.
Lemberger, aye. Olmsted?
Aye.
Olmsted, aye. Vito?
Aye.
Vito, aye. Eliason? Evans?
Aye.
Evans, aye. Gardner?
Yes.
Aye.
Gardner, aye. Motion carried.
Well, John, thank you.